Casey Stadium. Fans here are ready to go for this championship matchup, and so are we.
Welcome back to the National Championship. We're about to get this thing started. This comes down to this wire. If either of these teams wins this game today of this National Championship game, will be the crowned national champions. And we're going to end this women's soccer season right here in the bang.
Also lining up with the same starting 11.
And their fluid midfield is what sets them apart. Harvey and Kohler, when they're at their best, are in the starting 11 in the 10 spot. Klinger and Kitahata will occupy the wide spaces, but they could go behind Wynn as well.
This will all decide right here. If either, which so which either these teams win this game, will be the crown champions. It's gonna be Stanford or gonna be Florida State. And here we go. We're underway as the national championship game. And the team we'll be rooting for our national championship game tonight is the Stanford Cardinals, because we're the ranked #1 team in the country.
Does tend to get off to quick starts, and they do unleash the first shot of the match. Jasmine Ike had the game a free kick in the semifinal against Duke on Friday night for the Cardinal.
So last Friday, we had two semifinal games. I know it was.
Highlighted for this team, and it's tough, Casey, to really pick out who you want to highlight for Stanford, because this attack, #1 in the country, they average 4 goals per game, and they scored almost more than 20 goals more than the next closest team in terms of.
And the fact about this,
96 goals for the
Stanford Cardinals, we have won the SEC championship game back in October.
So you're right, the production can really come from any.
So our head coach is Paul Razlife.
He's got a great group here. Talking to him earlier today.
Because we had just beat my Notre Dame in the penalty kicks.
He said, look, we really had to grind and fight our way through some matches. He said this has been a really dominant season for this team, and they know it is national championship or bust, really, in terms of the standards that have been set and the talent they know they bring into this matchup.
And speaking with him, a lot of that is that veteran leadership and having had the experience and then setting the standards for their group.
Rashawn Clark blowing the whistle here to halt things for a moment. Brian Pensky on the sideline for the Florida State Seminoles.
Brian Pensky is the head coach for Florida State Seminoles for the women's soccer team.
In his second year with the program.
Well, how did these teams got here? Well, both our teams have defeated.
Who, by the way, took over the starting goalkeeper spot after that matchup against Stanford in the regular season. 2 goals that were conceded both started off of set pieces, one off of a goal kick, one off of a free kick. And the Seminoles actually made several changes, Casey, since that time. They've looked at their formation, they've looked at their personnel, feel they have a strong group playing well right now, although they did say, even though they lost that matchup, Brian Pensky felt his team had the better of the play.
He did, and part of that was just their ability to transition like this, press from the front.
This is Suarez unleashing a shot just wide. And let's go down to the third member of our team, Marion Crowder on the sideline.
Well, guys, Stanford is a team that thrives on the balance, not only with Jasmine Ike and Andrea Kitahata in the way they play, but also in their mentality. Jasmine Ike playing with an immense amount of gratitude after.
Marion Crowder will be a sideline reporter for tonight's national championship game.
She came in to Stanford with one goal in mind this year, guys, and that was to win a national championship. That's the kind of chemistry you're going to see between them this evening.
I think that's such a great point, and what strong passions driving and motivating some of the leaders on this Stanford team.
And sometimes it's just about perspective, and you get that little bit of perspective, and you find that extra little layer, that extra bit of confidence and motivation to go forward.
Jordan Dudley stepping in, disrupting the process for Stanford. Cardinal are a team that love to possess move the ball around, and Florida State, they can do that as well, but they'd like this to be a bit more disruptive.
They do have that bit of balance. They have the ability to build around the back and to build up play, but they also love the transition moments out of the pressing, out of the counter pressing when they lose possession, to have that higher starting position where they start to facilitate play.
Nani Torre receiving the throw in there. Young player for Florida State, number 7, a freshman who has now been in the starting lineup for the last few games. Was away with youth national team.
And she's provided a little bit of a different look and has allowed them to go into that 4-4-2 system. She can play in that 10 role, and it's just allowed a little bit different look for the Florida State Seminoles and how they build. You mentioned the change of shape from the 3-5-2 to the 4-4-2, but that's partly because Torre's in there.
As you know, Casey, sometimes it's just about finding a way to get your best players all on the field together, and that is what Florida State feels they have done. Switching to that 4-back really throughout this NCAA tournament happened after they were eliminated on penalties in the quarterfinals of the ACC tournament. Dudley. Torre escapes the jam. Brings it back to Okeke. Okeke and Gilchrist, the two, will hold things down on the back line for the Seminoles. This is McGovern, had it taken off her foot. Charlotte Kohler moving forward quickly. Knew Klinger was coming up on her right. Klinger puts it back in front of the goal. And no problem in the end for O'Keene.
Well, that's where you see the explosion from Charlotte Kohler, what she can do quickly. She's not there, then all of a sudden she is. Sets this 3v2 attacking transition moment, finds Klinger. But Mimi Van Zanten, give her a lot of credit. She was on a full sprint to get back and make sure that wasn't a better chance on frame.
Yeah, as much as we talk about the veterans on the Stanford team, you do have young players as well. Like Charlotte Kohler, just a sophomore for the Cardinal, but an incredible part of this attack. We talked about this being a heavyweight matchup. Well, these two coaches trail just one who you know very well in terms of all-time winning percentage in the NCAA tournament, Anson Dorrance. There's the longtime legendary head coach at North Carolina, and then Radcliffe and Penske. They know how to win when they get their teams to college soccer's biggest stage.
It's incredibly impressive to have that type of winning percentage, but especially in the NCAA tournament, to your point.
Kitahara on it in the box, and it rolls into the ground, boys. Stanford coming out early, popping a lot of shots off. This is what they do. They score early, and they stay ahead.
And Kitahata can just get on this. She loves the 1v1 isolation wide. Doesn't get a lot of power on the shot. Perhaps would have been better served just to play that across, but the mentality piece, you're not going to fault your forward for going to goal.
3 shots for the Cardinal already.
Well, these first few moments, Jen, has really been about Florida State in possession, and so it allows Stanford to pick some moments to potentially press, and really we've seen the Florida State Seminoles be more of the pressing type of team, but there's a little bit of a flip on that for the start of this national championship game.
Gilchrist up to Simmons. Dudley let that ball go through. Well, this an all-ACC affair in the final for the 2nd year in a row, and that means ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips in the house watching things.
So our
from the
Commissioner
sideline, and
James J.
busy guy
Phillips is
as
in the house.
always,
He's our
moving like
ACC commissioner.
the different championship games.
Well,
But
he's
against
always
the
an always,
ACC,
and he's here in the house to watch this national championship game, of
for the
course.
England Soccer national title. Ike has Kohler on the move. Kohler, plenty of time here to serve it across, and she does. Klinger!
Oh!
Stanford has come out firing in this national championship game.
Wow! Very close. Oh!
Play played in behind. McGovern's tracking. Kohler has a lot of time to pick out Eleanor Klinger on the back post, but what a save from O'Keene. It's right at her, but she has to carry this over the top. She does it,
Oh,
and she
wow.
keeps Florida State in it.
There's a great look at that save, the extension from the freshman in goal, and now here comes the first quarter of the match for the Cardinal. This really gave Duke problems, and you can see why. What a good look there.
And I see why O'Keene is organizing her team. There are these clear headers in front. It was Ike in this moment, played right into the top of the 6-yard box. No one stays with her in that moment, and O'Keene's big.
At the near post this time. Well, Stanford, as I mentioned, they are accustomed to scoring early. You see how they've come out of the gates tonight. That should come as no surprise. They've scored in the first 15 minutes in 17 of 24 games this season, including every game in this NCAA tournament. Florida State, meanwhile, has only conceded in the first 15 minutes once all season.
Well, you need moments like that where your goalkeeper comes up incredibly huge, makes the big save every now and then. You're going to have those, not just the consistency piece, but the ability to make the big save, settle down her back line a little bit, especially against a potent attack like Stanford has.
Four of Stanford's 5 shots in the early going here on goal, so O'Keene has been busy. Gilchrist. 7 players on this Florida State team who are a part of the 2023 NCAA championship squad. That beat Stanford in the final. Dudley named the most outstanding offensive player of that College Cup. Had a penalty, the first of 5 goals that Florida State would score. Most goals by a championship-winning team in 20 years. And both of those teams came into that matchup unbeaten in 2023. Stanford just 1 blemish on the season this time around. Play back to O'Keene.
That was the first time we were really seeing Stanford settle into their build-up shape. And watch Shea Harvey in this, because she drops into a double pivot defensively for Stanford when they are on the defensive side of things, but she'll drift up and really make it hard on Florida State in the midfield by a high position.
That's number 5 in the midfield in black for Stanford. If you want to keep an eye on her movement, this is Dudley. Always a good idea to keep an eye on her. Outside of the foot. Looking for Suarez, who's been playing with a ton of confidence lately. Just named a second-team All-American. How about that touch? Elite from Ike to set up Kitahara. Well read, though, defensively. KK getting herself in position. Bounces back to Ike. Una McCormack, the transfer from Virginia, picks it up for Florida State. Hudson is making her run down the middle. What a ball! Just a little bit to the side. Elise Evans, the All-American defender for the Cardinal, had it covered.
And that's what she has to do. She has to drop immediately when there's not pressure on the ball.
Boy, this is up and down right now. Kitahara onto it. Kitahara into the box. Ike, couple defenders around her core. Ball just passed right to the feet of Torre, and now Dudley eludes 1 defender. Jordan Dudley on her way toward goal, and that Stanford defense does not give up on the play.
Was the recovery run, because it looked like Dudley had a lot more space, and then Sophia Murdoch just comes back and really slows things down, makes Dudley make a decision, but they have to keep an eye on her. She picks it up in transition there. It's incredibly dangerous.
Well, it's interesting, Casey, because the pace of this game so far, you would think up and down like this would favor Florida State. However, it is Stanford who's had the better of it so far.
You almost feel like Stanford might have a goal if they have to score in the first 15 minutes, because they are going quick in transition. But you're right, Florida State Seminoles definitely want to do a little bit more of both, where Stanford would like to settle it down. It doesn't mean that they don't have the ability, though, to go at pace when necessary.
Guys, that chaotic nature that you're mentioning up there is exactly how it feels down here on the sideline from both coaching staff. On the Stanford side, they're really pleased with that aggressive nature of the press, something they liked in the second half of the semifinal game. But the message now is composure on the ball. And on the flip side for Florida State, they are really encouraging that back line to step a lot higher, feel like they're absorbing way too much pressure deep.
Yeah, Marion, they just really haven't been able to get here very often up into their attacking third of the field, Florida State.
Well, and naturally, the way these two systems match up, the wide areas are very important. Florida State is going to have to figure out how to send their outside backs high so Stanford can't settle in possession.
Look at the space for Harvey as she just strides through it with the ball at her feet. Stanford looking in complete control. in this match thus far. Nothing to show for it on the scoreboard. They do have 5 shots to none for Florida State.
And what that industriousness does, it allows them now to get into this expansive shape and try to build when possible. A little bit of a force pass there from Murdoch, but that's what they want to do after they do win it.
Hudson had the game winner in the semifinal against TCU, lays it off from McCormack. Now Suarez driving at the back line, takes her shot. She's had a couple of good looks.
She has that inside position where she's able to get it in transition and take off, and with the distraction of Hudson and Dudley being central and pinning the center backs, with this drive of McCormack, it allows Suarez to isolate in the 1v1, create a half yard of space, and look for a goal.
Florida State finishing 4th in the ACC regular season. Were eliminated on penalty kicks, as I mentioned, in the first round of the ACC tournament. Just the top 6 teams make the ACC tournament. Stanford won it. So they are, the Cardinal, looking for the trifecta. That's what they told us. They came here to win ACC regular season, ACC tournament, NCAA championship.
So much on those runs is about manifesting what you want. You repeat those things, you repeat those goals. It starts to become a thing of who you are and what you're really aiming for as a program. That's something these players have talked about all weekend, is they want to complete that.
Mimi Van Zanten ready for the throw for Florida State. She's shifted around a little bit this season. Seminoles would love to be able to play her in the midfield, but they also love her in the back and want her to get forward from that outside back position. Kitahara, grand theft. That gives it right back. It is a chilly one once again here in Kansas City tonight. 35 degrees, feels like 27.
Well, this is where Florida State can just settle down a little bit, because Stanford was winning that battle of transition, trying to keep the ball. What a great turn in midfield from Torrey. Now she can facilitate play.
Can see how that opened things up, and look who she finds. It's Dudley making a run for it, and Caroline Burkle really has her first action of this match.
Great management of space behind the back line from Burkle. If they're going to step a little bit higher, she has to have that higher starting position as a goalkeeper. The ball's played in. Dudley was not making the diagonal run inside. That allows Burkle to come out and cut the angle.
Dudley always knows where she wants to go with it. An elite passer of the ball, as her stats throughout her career, but particularly this year, would tell you 14 assists for Dudley, who was named a first-team All-American, is a semi-finalist, and you would expect to be a finalist for the Harmon. Kohler, 3 defenders all around her, and it took all 3 to stop her. The sophomore, so explosive with the ball at her feet. Dudley now, one-on-one. Cuts it back. Overcooks it. She'll want better with the time and space she had there. Well, the 24th annual Women's Jimmy V Classic is a Hawkeye State rivalry.
So on Wednesday at 7 p.m. on ESPN, there will be a Jimmy V Classic with an Iowa State Cyclones versus Iowa Hawkeyes. It's going to be a very big game on this Wednesday. Well, it will be looking like right there. And if
stepping in,
it will be a favorite player for Iowa State Cyclones is Audie Crooks.
One of the things Brian Hiskey talked about.
Man, it's going to be heck of a fun on Wednesday night.
Going to go, be decisive, and go. I do think Florida State has done that a little bit more with Simmons and Van Zanten in the white spaces, especially, and trying to get a little bit higher. It hasn't always worked, but you want your players to make those decisive decisions and not wait for something else to happen.
Kohler. Ike. Really given free rein to pop up wherever she can find space for the Cardinal in the system that they run. A player who has been a center back by necessity earlier in her career at Stanford, who missed the College Cup due to injury last year, and as Marion reported earlier, playing with so much gratitude. She mentioned that in her post-game interview for the semifinal when she scored the game winner on Friday. Kita
Well, this is good patience from Stanford. You can see that Jordan Dudley and Rihanna Hudson are trying to force Central, not allow the outside backs of Stanford to get on the ball. You can see by the position of Hudson, what she's trying to do is that to force it into the numbers in midfield. So Stanford just has to remain patient.
Well, says women's college soccer season will end right here after the national championship game.
Sophie Murdoch getting
And that goes for
start at
every other
center
sport.
back
After the national
alongside
championship, the
first-team
sport
All-American Reese Evans
and the
for
season will
Cardinals.
automatically end right
That
here.
line has shifted around quite a bit throughout the season, but particularly in this NCAA tournament. On the far side, the freshman Lily Freer, number 23. She's been excellent, whether she's been a center back or outside back as she is tonight.
You don't see that in the back line necessarily. And if you do, it's because of injury. But they just have so many talented players that can fill a couple different positions, and they're different skill sets that each of these players does have. So it says a lot about their back line, how they're able to do that.
Evans. Closely marked there by OKK. Dudley doing a lot of
I heard a train horn in the
It's
background.
first look for Florida State.
Yeah, I heard it.
Simmons pinged it into traffic.
I assume that's a freight train.
Field really stretched right now. Ike in the middle, calling for it. She comes back for it now. And just too much that time for Sammy Smith to catch up to the ball.
One thing that's really impressive, though, about Jasmine Ike, she looks like she's going to run in behind and penetrate. And then at the last second, she makes that movement to come to feed. And that's where you separate from your defender. It makes it incredibly hard on her KK and Gilchrist in the back. Because they have to respect the fact that she can go in behind for that slip ball as well.
Scoreless so far between these two ACC teams facing off
All right.
in the national championship. Stanford Cardinal 21-1-2 on the season. Florida State 15-2-4. Dudley won't get away with that one. Pretty clear from a referee explanation there.
And she was coming from behind. I think it looked worse than it was. But she had
Yeah.
a hit
Oh,
check there, and Sammy
oh,
Smith.
no.
If I'm a coach on the sideline, I like what Jordan Dudley did there.
Oh.
She used her body, and Sammy Smith had not jumped yet. But I understand coming back from there, it's a little bit harder and more likely to be called.
I think it did look worse in real time.
It did.
When we saw the replay, you're right. It wasn't quite the elbow that perhaps it looked first time around. Freer. Klinger. Got the cross through. Shot taken quickly. Boy, O'Keefe having to be on her toes. No hesitation. And Stanford not done yet.
Unbelievable from O'Keefe in that moment. Right in front, not from far out. It was the header, and Charlotte Kohler reacts well. O'Keefe reacts even better. And this is tough because it's going down. She has to get down the opposite way of where her body was moving to the right to react back to her left to make the save.
Lizzie Blama, an early substitution here for Stanford, coming on for Sammy Smith. Talked about all the changes in the back line. Interesting to see one here, and she'll get initially tested as this ball falls to Dudley's feet. Dudley in the box, cuts it back. Was looking for Hudson, who was open to be fair, but so too was the shot.
I like that Dudley continued to play because there was an advantage in this moment. Still a 1v1 opportunity, and when you have Jordan Dudley going 1v1, you certainly don't want her to slow down. There's a little clip of the leg on Lizzie Blama there in that moment. Murdoch comes across. Dudley does everything right to be able to keep it and be composed.
Well, the whistle here is because Kate O'Keefe is down for
Oh,
Florida
no. One of the players down for Florida
State.
State.
So both teams will come to the sideline as O'Keefe gets looked at. The freshman goalkeeper who's now started the last 10 matches, winning that starting spot for the Seminoles throughout this season.
Well, she's been unbelievable tonight, hasn't she? Some
Yeah.
very big saves for the Seminoles and just getting stretched out a little bit there. That's something they'll certainly want to see taken care of. But she has kept Florida State in this from the beginning.
Yeah, no question. 5 saves for O'Keene already tonight. And Casey, coming into this match, she had 11 total saves in the previous 5 matches of this NCAA tournament.
Well, that speaks to how good Stanford is
Yeah.
on the attacking side, because you need to have your defense and your goalkeeper stand on their head at sometimes to keep the Stanford Cardinal from scoring goals. And so far, O'Keene has been that player for Florida State.
23-16 remains in the first quarter.
Todd would be the player getting ready should she need to come on, but this is what O'Keene has faced so far.
And some shots that were right to her where they cut the angle well, but then it started to be these big saves. A couple parrying over the top was 2 of those right in a row off corner kick opportunities. And in this one right here, what was so hard about it is she was going to her right to set and had to react so quickly back to her left side.
Yeah, there have been some impressive saves in that group of
Absolutely.
5 so far for O'Keene. You can see why she won the job. Freshman from Sandy, Utah, had a huge save at the end of the semifinal. Let's not forget that TCU had the ball at the feet of their very best player, a Herman Trophy candidate in Seven Castaigne. Point blank range with the seconds counting down, and O'Keene saved it. Did that earlier in this tournament too. Surprisingly close game in the second round for Florida State, a 1-0 victory over Lipscomb. And at the end of that game, O'Keene also made a big save. You need moments like that on your way to a championship. It's not always smooth and dominant. Kitahara turning toward goal. Simmons defending. Kitahara kept it in, and O'Keene taking no chances.
And that might be one of those things that doesn't necessarily make a highlight reel, but the reality is she cuts the angle off. Kinta Hata gets to the inline, goes to keep it in as it deflects off her, but by O'Keene coming across, she doesn't even allow an opportunity for a Stanford attacking player to get on the end of it.
Now, I do want to get into this change. It's interesting with Guama coming on in the first half, and maybe why we think Paul Ratcliffe made that change defensively. Let's see what the Seminoles do in this possession as Torre does the hokey pokey, turns herself around and keeps possession in the process. McGovern now looking forward.
Well, to the question you posed, Sammy Smith does really well getting into the attack. She's capable defensively as well, but Jordan Dudley is just facilitating play off this right side. So sometimes it's just a different change-up in the game, just to show the opposition something a little bit different, perhaps to slow her down.
And Guama certainly has played a lot of minutes, started 18 matches this season for the Cardinal. Van Zanten will just put this ball out of play, give her defense a chance to collect themselves. Now Harvey, off the mark on that pass, is looking for the freshman, Elon Nguyen. McGovern.
Florida State is building more with a 3 now, with Simmons a little bit higher, so they do adapt into more of that attacking shape when they get the ball. That forces Kitahata back, Guama back as well.
They were a 3 back in the regular season meeting against the Cardinal, and Ben Penske told us he did consider going back to that for this matchup. But as you said, they play a bit of a hybrid 3 back, 4 back anyway.
Correct. And it does actually look as well like they've shifted a little bit of their shape anyways, with Suarez going off to that left side. More of a 4-2-3-1 defensively. When they get into the attack, though, they're pushing Simmons high, and then they'll get Dudley a little bit higher in that shape. So just adapting to some of the things that Stanford is doing.
An exciting matchup so far between these two teams. It has taken a Herculean defensive effort from Florida State to keep Stanford from scoring. But it is still 0-0. Guama, service into the box. Well, we told you about the women's Jimmy V Classic. How about the 31st annual Jimmy V Classic on the men's side? Coming your way from Madison Square Garden Tuesday night on ESPN and the ESPN app. Clemson, number 9 BYU starts you off at 6:30 Eastern, followed by number 18 Florida, number 5 UConn. And as a reminder, so important, you can donate to the V Foundation for Cancer Research, where all of the proceeds go directly to cancer research. That is at v.org. Florida State making a change. Jada McGrew coming on to replace Cameron Simmons. And McGrew has played in the back line for the Seminoles. Also seen her get high up into the midfield. Saw that some on the semifinal when she came into the match.
When as we started seeing Simmons doing that, that would be the expectation as Suarez takes over and goes in attacking transition.
Suarez heading toward goal. Lays it right in front for Dudley. Dudley! That does take a deflection on the way out, and the Seminoles finally getting something going in their attack.
Well, this is that attacking transition where you're talking about off the press. Suarez gets a little bit of a deflection. She finds Dudley and coming across, goes off the foot of the defender in this moment. Good vision from the midfielder. Great 1v1 defending, and eventually goes off Murdoch, who's the covering player for Elise Evans.
Taylor Suarez setting it down from the corner. She has already set up goals off of corner kicks twice in this NCAA tournament. Puts the ball in the box. A lot of great targets there. You look at Hudson. Nobody can reach the 6'2" height of the sophomore for Florida State. Dudley also very good in the air, 5'11". So those are always going to be dangerous if they can get service like that.
Certainly is. Sometimes you have to commit more players to that, or it's about your position defensively. But that's when the other players for Florida State have to be ready for deflections, anything that pops down in those attacking set-piece moments.
Nike bounces this ball in the middle where Klinger runs onto it. Klinger does a good job here just keeping it long enough to allow her teammates to catch up with her, but then does put it up over the crossbar, and looks like they're saying that was touched. So Stanford will get a corner, their third of this first half.
And what Eleanor Klinger did that you mentioned right there is right. She realizes that she didn't really have any pace to go in the 1v1 necessarily, so she just waits for numbers to join her. A better opportunity for the attack to come to fruition.
Ali Montoya coming on now to replace Klinger, another senior for this Stanford side. Here comes the corner for Stanford, headed back into the fray.
What the?
No follow-up to be had, at least initially. Freer. Flick back toward goal, and O'Keen calling her defenders off, has it under control. I mentioned that Stanford typically does get out on their opponents early. For Florida State, you saw their average time of their first goal, 35th minute. So this is a team that does grow into matches, and I think we've seen that even in this first half, Casey.
We have. It's about adaptability as well, and that can be a hard thing to do in game.
Quijada. McGrew, the freshman who just came into the match a few moments ago, defending and doing it well. Winning possession for her team. Hudson, Dudley. Dudley has been such a handful. Bumped off the ball by Boama here. That'll set up a free kick.
So clever. So clever. Experience of Dudley to understand that there's so much aggression in defending her. And she just decides, you know what, I'm not going to go anywhere with this. I just have to protect the ball, and I can use that aggression against the Stanford defender in Boama. She does it well with this last little step right in front, initiates the contact, draws the foul.
So now an opportunity from the free kick for Florida State. Suarez to do the honors. Looking toward Dudley. Suarez. She'll want that back, and she'll get it from Gilchrist. The next touch, a little too heavy. McGrew popping up in the midfield, keeping possession for the Seminoles. Torre. Suarez looking for some real estate. Good bout of possession here for the Noles.
Well, this is nice, and this is a change of point that could be on if they look the other direction, but looking to go central is McCormack.
And McCormack still on it, takes the shot! Oh my! A little high.
Well, it's really well done, though. Because of that sustained possession, they're able to get McGrew a little
Well,
bit
there's
higher.
13
Get
minutes
Dudley in
left
next
to go
Hudson
in the
again,
first
more
half.
two front that they like to see. An open space for
So
McCormack.
far,
She
nobody
goes
got a
for
score
goal.
just yet. So
Sit
after this
down
national
wide
championship
enough
game,
that
if we
extra
win this
passing
game,
allows for
then
some
our
shape to
players
take place, some space to open up
will
for the
most
midfielder.
likely on
Casey,
either
you
these
talked
days
about that as one of the
will take their
tactical
flights back to
nuances you were
Stanford,
looking for in
California,
this
and they
matchup,
will
how each team, right,
want
could
to
use that
do
their
their
advantage,
finals
flipping the field,
and
changing the point
to
of
close out
attack.
their
Have you seen
semester
that so
first.
far?
Not as much as I anticipated because it has been so
And of
linked in, but
course,
now you're starting to see where there's been some tactical changes. I think that
and
Florida
going
State
from
goes into
there.
that two-player,
So after that, and then our players will enjoy their off season already after the national championship game.
To use the wide spaces.
It was 5-0 shots in favor of Stanford early on. Now that gap closing 7-4 in favor of the Cardinal.
And again, the ball's just forced down the middle there from OKK. The space is wide, especially off the right side with McGrew and Dudley. Kitahata's pinching inside a little bit. So now the play does go over to Stanford now, and they look to swing it. I think this is a good tactic by them to get wider.
Intercepted by Dudley. Her anticipation, part of what makes her such a special player, and then she understands, Casey, doesn't she, how to use her body.
What?
As the
Oh,
keep up with her.
What's two
a yellow card. Oh, no.
Yellow card, but I love what Dudley's doing. She's getting the ball. She's using her defensive shape to dispossess. Then she just puts her head down, goes right at Murdoch. Bauma's already out of the play. Murdoch has no cover. Jordan Dudley sees that. She doesn't do it by accident. She sees the space, and she tries to draw the foul.
Oh, no. We got a yellow card on
Picking up the yellow
Sophie.
card and another free kick from nearly the identical spot that Taylor Suarez had it just a few moments ago. The last one went to Dudley, who chested it down central. Cluster of bodies right along the 18-yard line at the edge of the box for both teams. Dudley heads it back in front of goal. Can't connect with a teammate.
With the way Dudley's playing right now, I wouldn't even get near her. I would just expect her to win every ball and run off of it. Not wait for it to happen, but anticipate.
Dudley. Beautiful layoff for Torre. Torre wanting to go back to the Seminole All-American. McGovern. McGrew. Freshman not afraid to mix it up now. She's got to get back though. Kitahata is stopped by McGrew, who does her job. Subs for both teams happening here. Noreen Ahmad coming on for Stanford. Mia Buddha also making her way onto the field, and that's good to see. Buddha, a junior who had lofty preseason expectations for the Cardinal, but was injured to start the year. Didn't see her, has been dealing with a bit of an injury, Paul Ratcliffe told us before the game. So she comes on, places Murdoch in the back, and Stanford making their way forward.
I like the inclusion of Buddha into the back line, very comfortable in possession. When Stanford has control of the ball, she loves to go forward in the wide spaces, so I think she can settle things down and try to go forward for the Stanford Cardinal if they can get it under control.
And my apologies, we had both 21s coming in. Narina Ahmad for Florida State, Joelle Jung, number 21 for Stanford. Let me get that corrected as we go to Marion.
Casey, you talked earlier about that change for Florida State from that typical 4-4-2 diamond that we've seen them into a 4-2-3-1. It's actually because of what you talked about earlier before that with Stanford making kind of that change with Shea Harvey going back and forth between being a double 10 or being a double pivot. So they didn't anticipate that, and that's why they changed into that 4-2-3-1 shape. But now they have a different problem. They actually feel like Suarez is getting a little too wide and really inserting herself into that space that Mimi Van Zanten typically likes to drive on the left-hand side. So that change with Ahmad, they're hoping for a little bit more interchange between her and Suarez to get that space open back up for Mimi Van Zanten.
I think that's a great point because they want Suarez in and around the ball. They want her a bit more inverted. Van Zanten is so good in the attack, so that connection can allow them to play in some tighter spaces, encourage Van Zanten to get into the attack quite a bit more.
Yeah, Suarez started off on the near side. Now she is playing on that same side, the far side of the field, as you're looking at your screen, where Mimi Van Zanten is as well.
When Dudley is naturally inside a little bit more because she's been used to playing in that two front, and Suarez can typically go into the wide area. So that's why we're seeing McGrew get a little bit higher and Simmons before her because of the partnership with Dudley. If they can get that going on both sides, it'll be more predictable in their build.
Good step in by the freshman Wynn in the midfield. Kohler to Kita Hata. Kita Hata, 6-year player for the Cardinal. Puts it in the box! Stanford making a change, or Florida State, excuse me. Sophia Wynn coming on, replacing Suarez. So Suarez gets a little bit of a break here, has been doing a lot of running in this first half of the Seminoles.
And Sophia Wynn is a player that normally comes in and it gives a lot of minutes as well. They can send her in with some instruction of what they want to see off that left side. Suarez was making that adaptability within the game and that change, which can be difficult, but I think they'll have some instructions for Wynn on how they want to handle that space.
It's been such a great battle in this first half. Tactically, seeing both teams work back and forth, how they're using their substitutions. 6 saves in this first half, though, for Cato Keene and Florida State. None thus far for Burkle on the other side. Dudley. Freer tracking Dudley all the way, but Florida State forward still managed to come away with it. Now Kita Hata back helping defend.
And it's taking multiple defenders to stop Dudley. So now that when you're another attacking player like Ahmad, like Wynn, Hudson, you've got to play off Dudley really close because there's going to be such distraction that you might be the recipient of something that bounces to you, since she is causing so many problems in the back line.
It's only happened twice all season that Stanford has not scored in the first half. One was their only loss of the season, September 7th at UCLA. They wound up losing that match 2-0. The other, interestingly, was at Miami, but they wound up winning that game 3-2. Brooke Holden on now for Stanford, replacing Ike for the final few minutes of the first half, and tempers flaring perhaps.
Tampa's flare. Oh boy. What?
Didn't take long for Holden to get a talking to. Freshman out of Alpine, California.
4:55 remains in the first half. We're just getting started here, ladies and gentlemen. Because right now, after this, and let's see what's next for these players after the season's done. It's after this national championship game.
They're finding her in that single pivot 6 position, but with the pressing shape, with the 10 of Florida State, no matter who it is stepping to her, she just hasn't been able to settle in possession.
McCormack. There is Buddha, making her first appearance of this College Cup. This could bounce fortuitously, and does for Stanford. Ball across toward Kita. Second effort, a great one from the freshman McGrew.
Ooh.
Kohler, left alone, that's trouble.
You almost hold your breath when Kohler gets the ball because she is so quick. First few steps, anywhere around the penalty box, she is going to be a goal-scoring threat.
12 goals, 17 assists for the sophomore this season for Stanford. And that's a fairly easy call of handball. Well, coverage
Wow.
of the NCAA Championships continues with the Men's College Cup semifinals. That is coming our way Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern.
So the Men's College Cup semifinals going to be coming your way on Friday. You can go on to NCAA.com. So that's going to be happening on Friday. Washington versus Furman, and St. Louis versus NC State on Friday on ESPNU on Friday.
As well with NC State there, but that's about where the similarities end when you look at the teams and where they're seeded. We've got a 3 seed, we've got a 1 seed here.
And the national championship game will be it's gonna be on Monday or something like that.
Well, I think the way this game started, Casey, you'd have to feel advantage Stanford, right? But Florida State, as they do, feels like the Seminoles have grown into the game. Do you give an advantage to this first half so far?
I do still give it to Stanford because of their quality in front of goal. If not for Katie O'Keene, then there could have been a lot more damage that was done early in the game, and I think that's got to give them the advantage, even though Florida State has figured out how to make them more uncomfortable.
Oh no.
Stepping up and over Kohler after making the stop was called for the foul. We'll get a warning as well.
A foul warning. Oh.
I just appreciate the referee in this situation, Rashawn Clark. Not being quick to pull out a card, but he is having conversations.
Oh.
You want to make sure you control at this point. You don't want to make any decisions that are really going to change the players going after it.
This will be Wen driving the ball into the box. There might have been a chance for a follow-up there, but it is cleared away. Kitahara still lurking around the area. Buddha. No rest for the weary here.
No, and you can see Kate O'Keene just organizing her back line. Gilchrist wins the header, but when you're having all of those services, it can be incredibly difficult, especially...
1 or 2 minutes left to go in the first half.
Fourth quarter of the first half coming now for Stanford. These have
Oh,
been
boy.
difficult for Florida State to contend with so far. That post headed. Gotta get that one right if you're Florida State.
1 minute to go in the first half.
Another corner coming. The freshman Wen will deliver the ball. Kohler picking it up. Guava.
And missed.
Up and over. Well, coming up at halftime, we're going to take a look at Some other NCAA championships across the country in soccer. Plus, we'll tell you about how our ESPN soccer group supports V-Week, very personal for us.
I'll be coming in at the half.
At the College Cup.
All right,
Plus, we'll
National
have
Championship
Casey's
roundup and
analysis.
ESPN Honda's V-Week, of course. And for the halftime report, it's right after this. 16 seconds left remains in the first quarter.
I'm sure no time unnecessarily ticking away as O'Keefe set up this goal kick. So we will stay locked at 0 after the first 45 minutes. No one gaining an inch yet in this national championship.
Well, this is definitely what you expect. It's just the end-to-end action. No one looks like they're going at this passively. They are going after it, trying to make a difference right from the outset. Even some tactical changes in the game that have been exciting.
Well, let's hear from Stanford head coach Paul Ratcliffe. He's with Marion.
Paul, anything you want to change in the build-up in the second half?
Just more composure on the ball. I think if we can connect a few more passes, and in the final third, our final pass and our quality in the final third needs to get a little sharper, but we're getting opportunities.
Anyone in particular you want to see more involved in the build?
We just brought in Mia Buda. I think she's done really well and added a lot to the team. Ali Matoya played well, but we need to get Dre. We need to get Jazzy on the ball. We need to get Eleanor on the ball. Charlotte's been fantastic. We just need that final touch in the final third.
Paul, thank you. Good luck in the second.
All right, thank you so much.
Yeah, Stanford out shooting Florida State 11-4, 6-0 shots on goal in this first half, but no score so far. Stick around, you're watching the 2025 NCAA Women's College Cup Final.
We'll be right back on either side of this break in the second half, but we'll see you soon.
Hi there.